How to quit any addiction. So bro, I was reading this book called Dopamine Nation by Dr. Anna Lemke. And it's a really good book. I really liked it. It talks about, addiction and how addiction works. And I think I found the way, the core. Like, this is literally the way to quit any addiction. I found it in this book. And, if you don't know, Dr. Anna Lemke, she's basically a doctor who studied addiction for decades and decades and decades. But the book is really good, right? And I remember, when I was reading this book, I was like, yeah, that's the way I quit every addiction I have, for the most part. So yeah, I'm gonna share, what I learned in that book and what I learned from my personal experience, so I can give you some knowledge in this area, right, which is addiction, right? So the best way to quit any addiction, porn, video games, junk food, social media, any addiction you have, it does not matter. The best way is to do a 30-day fast from that addiction. Now I know it sounds like, what? I've been trying to do that all the time and I've been failing. What do you mean? Let me just explain, right? Basically, how addiction works is basically the core hormone of addiction is a hormone called dopamine. Now, dopamine, it's responsible for so many things, your happiness, your motivation, but basically the main thing it's responsible for is motivating you to pleasure, right? Or giving you pleasure, right? It's the happiness of pursuit, not the pursuit of happiness. That's what dopamine is, right? It motivates you to do something good. It gives you feelings of good, basically. That's what dopamine does. Now what happens is, you have a baseline of dopamine, and when we do something that's very pleasurable, right, like porn or video games or junk food or something like that, our dopamine spikes very high, way higher than our evolutionary biology is suited for, way higher. But then it shoots very, very high, and then it drops below the baseline. It drops way below the baseline. This explains, instant gratification. They feel very good and very pleasurable, and they feel amazing in the short term, but in the long term, because the dopamine goes down, we feel terrible, we feel depressed, anxious, can't sleep, right? Irritable, angry, because the dopamine is below the baseline. But basically what happens is, when our dopamine is below baseline and we feel depressed and anxious and all that, after we did the bad habit, our mind is like, okay, we're right here, we need some more dopamine, man. So we do it again, and then we get a little bit more dopamine, we get that pleasure again, we get that very high stimulus again, but then it goes even lower than where it was before that relapse. Does that make sense? And that's basically how addiction works, is we keep, our dopamine spikes up and then it goes down. And then we do it again because we feel very bad and very terrible. We feel like this emptiness, right? This depression. So we do it again, and then the spike hits again, and then it goes even lower. And then the spike hits again, even lower and lower and lower. And we reach a point where we're watching porn or we're playing video games, and you feel like, man, I've been playing this video game for hours and it's not even fun anymore. I don't even like it. That means our dopamine is very, very low. Basically, the core cause of any addiction in the world is, and I heard this from the channel Self-Actualization by Leo, which is a very nice channel, is fear of emptiness, or fear of pain, or fear of depression, or fear of fear of pain. That's what I would define it. Fear of the pain of going through this right here. Your baseline dopamine is here, it goes up and then it goes down. We fear this, we're so scared of this. We're so scared of this as human beings. So we have to do that again. And that's why these things are so addictive, is because they keep stimulating our dopamine, right? The only way to return our dopamine to baseline the baseline levels to have healthy, good dopamine is through something called dopamine fasting, which is basically 30 days of zero interaction with that bad habit, or like 30 days of never doing that bad habit ever again, never doing it, right? 30 days of that. And that's the only way to return your dopamine, to feel happy again, to feel fulfilled, confident, you feel very social, you feel amazing again. That's the only way to do it, is to stop doing it for 30 days. And basically what's gonna happen in those 30 days is, Dr. Anna Lembke, she describes it as a balance, right? The pleasure-pain balance. So if you have a lot of pleasure, then the pain is down, and then the pleasure goes down, and then the pain goes up. And if you have a lot of pain, then the pain goes down and the pleasure goes up. That's how addiction works. You have this pleasure-pain balance. Now, I actually tried this with every single bad habit, but I tried this especially very recently with porn and masturbation, right? I was like, man, I can't, like, it's so hard to quit porn. But I was like when I read that book and I understood, how addiction works and all these things, I was like, you know what? I'm just not gonna do it for 30 days. 30 days. That's what I'm gonna do. And I'm not gonna lie, in the first 2 weeks, right? First 1 and 2 weeks were the hardest, like by far. Like I just felt terrible. And I hated everyone. I remember I would even meet my family, and I just felt terrible. I was always depressed and anxious and hated everything because of this, because my dopamine was below baseline. But this has to happen. The body has to sustain homeostasis, right? Which is basically staying in the same way. That's what homeostasis means. So when you're here, when the dopamine goes down here, the body activates homeostasis and returns your dopamine back to baseline. So it can't just be pleasure, and it can't just be pain. It has to be pleasure, pain, balance. Pleasure, pain, balance. How addiction works is pleasure, pain, without any balance. And the problem is, it's not just pleasure, pain, it's a lot of pleasure, a lot of pain. And then a lot of pleasure and even more pain. A lot of pleasure, even more pain. And then barely any pleasure, even more pain. That's how it works, because the body has to maintain homeostasis. But in those first weeks, like I'm telling you, bro, like I had so many urges in my head. Like I just wanted to relapse, like so bad. And everything, man, was going through my mind. Like I couldn't even interact with people. I was so anxious, depressed. But I was like, if I push through this, I can do anything. And basically, the way to do it is like not just the fast. Like the fast is, it's the core of everything. Is 30 days without doing that bad habit at all, but also replacing that bad habit with good habits. But then, at week 3, I felt a bit better. And week 4, I felt so good. Like, I felt way better than when I was, pursuing porn and fapping and masturbation, right? Way better. And those literally were the best 2 months of my life, honestly. Like, those 2 to 3 months after, you quit that bad habit are just amazing. Like, it's like... And that's how delayed gratification works. It's something sucks in the beginning. It's so terrible. It sucks. But then it's amazing. It's so pleasurable. It's so fulfilling. That's how delayed gratification works, right? Things like going to the gym. Things like meditating and journaling. Things like reading. Like, honestly, that's the best way, is to fast for 30 days, stop doing that activity for 30 days, and replacing that with a good habit. Because your mind needs to get dopamine from somewhere. It needs to get it from somewhere. And it doesn't care if it's going to get it from bad habits or good habits. It needs to get dopamine, right? But what we do is we replace the bad habits with good habits. We replace the bad dopamine, junk food, porn, video games, alcohol, with good dopamine, with going to bed early, with exercise. Exercise increases your dopamine by double, like twice, right? 200%. Sleep is a big one. Getting morning sunlight, right? Spending time in nature, meeting people, meditating increases dopamine. Journaling, reading increases dopamine. All these activities give you good, healthy dopamine, even though they're hard in the beginning, even though they're hard in the short term, they're very good in the long term. So that's basically the way I've learned, is to just stop doing that thing for 30 days. Now, and the thing is, after those 30 days, you're gonna realize you feel so much better than when you were doing that bad habit, that you just want to do it forever. You're just not gonna want to do it, right? And that's what I learned, right? Now, you could do it for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, but I always say 30 days is best for most people, right? And it's a really good challenge to challenge yourself, to see if you can actually stop doing this thing for 30 days, right? Now, what happens if you relapse after those 30 days? And this actually happened to me very recently, after 3 days ago. This happened to me 3 days ago. Is I was off for porn, masturbation for like 60, 70 days, like a very long time, and then I relapsed. Now, the first day, it was pretty hard. It sucked. I felt pretty guilty, and I felt terrible, of course, because I had this, it felt very, very good in the start, of course, because I relapsed after a very long time. My dopamine receptors are so sensitive, right? But then I felt better and better and better, and now I feel pretty good. It's day 3 now after that relapse. I feel pretty good, and tomorrow I'm gonna feel exponentially better, right? And today I felt exponentially better than yesterday. So even if you relapse after those 30 days, your mind remembers all the progress you did. It remembers that you've been off of this for 30 days. It remembers how good you felt after those 30 days. Your mind is the smartest thing in the world. It's the most powerful thing in the world, right? So yeah, that's how to quit any addiction. So yeah, that's really the way to quit any addiction. The no BS, the real scientific, effective way to do it, right? And I know 99% of people won't do this because it's hard and it sucks in the beginning. But after that, it's the best feeling in the world, man. It's the best feeling in the world that you conquered your addiction, that you conquered your bad habits. So yeah, the first 2 weeks are gonna suck, but after that, they're gonna be the best days of your life. I'm telling you, bro. So yeah, that's what I learned. As always, we're in this together, and we will make it.